Thanks for joining us for another Kickstarter Conniption. Today we're going to be doing an overview of the game Radlands.
And as always, we want to remind you that this video is brought to you by our backers and also by the makers of this game.
Hello and welcome to Tantrum House Studio J. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Apprentice Dan, and today we're going to take a look at Radlands by Roxley Games. It's a two-player card dueling game set in a post-apocalyptic world where you'll be battling your enemy using water as your resource.
You'll be drawing cards from a central deck, putting people out to defend your camp, and sending raiders after your opponent. We have a prototype of the game, so let's take a look.
Each player draws 6 camps, chooses 3, and places the camps in front of them, forming 3 columns.
They will then draw their starting cards and 3 water tokens.
On your turn, advance events, draw a card, and receive 3 water. It's now your action phase.
Person cards can be played by paying the water required. Place people in the columns in front of your camps with a maximum of 2 people per column. You can play these people in front of or behind an existing person.
Event cards can be played to the left of your camps, starting in the space listed on the card. Every turn, this will advance until it moves out of the first row, which will cause it to resolve.
You can also trigger abilities on your camps and people. These allow you to deal damage, draw water, and heal your people, among other things.
You can also junk or discard cards from your hand, doing whatever action is listed on the corner of the card. For example, you could draw an extra card or put a punk on the battlefield.
Damage is always dealt to the first card in the column unless otherwise noted. Tap the card sideways to show that it's damaged and can't be used. If it takes more damage, destroy the card.
Each player has 2 cards that can be used repeatedly. The water silo, which allows them to pay water now to get extra water in the future, and a raider's card, which is an event that can damage an enemy camp.
Players continue playing cards and damaging camps and people until one player has destroyed all of his opponent's camps and is declared the winner.
This game is really pretty simple on the surface. The turns go quickly, it's easy to jump in and play, but there's a lot of strategy and a lot of variety to it as well. There are 34 camp cards that come in the game, but you're only looking at 6 per player and then narrowing that down to 3. So you're only going to be playing with 6 of those cards at a time total, and that gives you a lot of variety as far as how you're going to strategize based on what camps you get, what cards you draw. It just gives you a lot of choices within the game.
There are a lot of choices, and with those camp cards, sometimes you're going to have to make the choice, do I keep this card or do I sacrifice it? Because it might have an ability that you sacrifice the card or damage it in order to do something really strong against your opponent. And then you're also going to have to make decisions about which of your cards do you play out and where do you play them. Do you protect this camp or another one, or do you just sacrifice that card to get its immediate ability?
Yeah, I had some really nice cards when I was playing against Ryan, but they cost 3 or 4 water in order to play, and that's pretty much your turn at that point. So it's the decision, do I play this and get it on the battlefield? But I knew he was just going to damage it and render it useless, so maybe I discard it and do something else, or I hold on to it. I think I probably held on to it for way too long and maybe cost me the game, but it's that kind of decision making that adds to the depth of this game and makes it very challenging to get in and play.
There is some good back and forth, but you are fighting the clock a little bit because there's almost always a way that your opponent can get his raiders out there, and the raiders just count down and immediately damage a camp. So 6 cycles of that, and your camps are all destroyed if you can't mitigate it.
Yeah, definitely do not forget about the raiders. They are very powerful, very helpful. I think the rules even say this is a good thing to do. You should do it. Even the water silo gives you some interesting decisions because you're giving up a water in order to pull that into your hand. But then on that next turn, now I've got the ability to have 4 water and I can do some extra actions, play some extra cards. The art has a really interesting aesthetic going on. It's post-apocalyptic, so it feels like maybe it should be darker and more sinister, but it's bright and it's vibrant, and that is an interesting contrast. And it has a really neat table presence out there when you have all these bright colors, but it's the end of the world and you're struggling to get water.
So yeah, that's Radlands from Roxley Games. If this was of interest to you, definitely check it out on Kickstarter, and be sure to stay tuned to our channel for more overviews of games like this one. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Thanks for joining us for another Kickstarter Kickstarter Connection. Today we're doing an overview. It's starting out great.